what's happened in Texas with Ibogaine? Where are we in this long
Yeah.
slog to
Yeah.
acceptance?
So this last session of the legislature, um, Brian Hubbard, who, if you want to talk to the smartest guy on the planet, from my perspective, Brian is my partner in this. He ran the Kentucky Opioid um, Abatement Commission until it was shut down by their current governor and attorney general. Brian Hubbard, myself, um, Amber and Marcus Capone, the Vets organization, and a host of really good, capable people that I just don't have time to name all their names. We put together a plan. We implemented it to allow for the state of Texas to commit $50 million. That's real money. 50 million taxpayer dollars to partner with a drug development company, an equal amount. The state of Texas gets to maintain any patents that come out of this and do clinical trials. The focus is on veterans, but Mike, this is a lot bigger than veterans, because what we know about Ibogaine now is it is extraordinarily effective against addictions. I'm talking alcohol, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, opioids. I mean, one oral treatment with Ibogaine in 80+% of the cases, and the addiction is gone. I mean, that sounds too good to be true, but I've seen the data. Stanford's done a clinical trial on this. I've seen over 1,000 veterans that we sent down to Mexico to a facility called Ambio that has had extraordinary success, particularly dealing with our warfighters. That's where Marcus and Morgan, uh, uh, where Dakota Meyer, Medal of Honor recipient, all of them have been to Ambio to be treated and had stunningly good success. So this legislation, which by the grace of God and the people of the state of Texas standing up and saying we want to do this, Governor Abbott was fully behind this. The lieutenant governor came on board. The speaker came on board. It passed the Texas legislature, which has 150 members in the state house, with only 2 dissenting votes. It passed, I think, on a voice vote in the Senate. The governor publicly signed it. I mean, the governor put his reputation on the line on this as well. So a lot of courageous Texans. So just kind of as a little background, when it first became public that I was talking about using some psychoactive drug to treat veterans in Mexico, one of my political consultants came up to me and he said, "What in the hell are you doing?" He said, "Man," he said, "you're fixing to throw away 40 years of, conservative uh,
Legacy,
history."
yeah.
And, he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well," I said, I don't, I don't think so." I said, "I have studied this. I've talked to literally hundreds of people that have been treated. I've been down there and looked at this facility." I said, "I've done my homework on this. I probably studied this more than anything I ever faced while I was the governor looking at issues." I said, because I knew how sensitive this was going to be. And I needed to really know what I was talking about. But I said, here's the other side of this. And this is what I appreciate about these other members that have done the same thing, that have to stand up in front of their citizens for election. I said, my reputation is not worth more than those veterans' lives. And that's what's really important, is that there are a lot of courageous men and women who understand that this is a compound that has the potential to really change people's lives, save people's lives. And if you cannot be for that, kind of goes back to that statement that we talked about earlier about those environmental radicals. You got a dark heart
Mm.
if you want to say, yeah, there may be some compound out there that can save your life, but my being against those psychedelics are stronger than that. So you're just going to die.
I think too, Rick. May I call you Rick at this point? It's been 90 minutes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Um, I think,
Or hey, you.
hey, you.
I will
I mean,
answer.
like you've just jumped straight to Rowe, so I figure I'm good with
Yeah.
Rick, dude.
Yes, sir.
T-shirt
There you
boy,
go.
whatever.
Hey, Perry, come on. You
Um,
come on here in a t-shirt. You can call me Perry.
that's just from the waist up. I don't even want to know what you're rocking. It's none of my business. Um,
Never mind.
but it's this idea of you're either reacting to a circumstance or you're trying to get ahead of an eventuality. And I think it's a harder slog to sell when you're trying to get ahead of an eventuality because you're dealing with the theoretical thing that might happen and you want to do this thing to prevent that. But again, the evidence demands a verdict. These guys are punching their own tickets at record and heartbreaking numbers. And I feel like, I don't know who those two knuckleheads were who voted nay on this thing, but I know our country is full of people who they'll show up, the house is fully involved, the flames are everywhere, and they stroke their chin and they talk about what might be done to deal with this fire that's happening in front of them. But it's the whole approach is just so much more suited to fire prevention as opposed to, brother, your house is on fire. Well, our house is on fire with regard to trade schools. Our house is on fire with regard to energy, and this is certainly a fire. And I just, for the life of me, think we're entering the most extraordinary time of advocacy and persuasion that I've ever seen in my life. And whether you wanted to or not, you you certainly have a seat at the grown-up table, man. And this,
Yeah. So it's really interesting. We've had a meeting with I think 15 other states, and I would suggest it's going to grow. It's going to be more than that, as some pretty conservative members of the legislature from all across the country have contacted me and said, "Hey, they're curious, and we talk about this. Their heart's in the right place." They've got veterans, they've got loved ones who have addiction problems or have, PTSD or traumatic brain injury. We think that there's probably, and this is me speaking, I'm not hanging this on anything other than some data that needs to be looked at. If neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's, I will suggest to you all of those may be affected in a positive way with this plant that comes from Gabon in Western Africa and has been used for centuries over there from the Iboga shrub. And let's do these clinical trials across the country. I mean, Bobby Kennedy, Secretary Kennedy, he and his agency, they're going to be supportive of this. I'm comfortable that Bobby's one of those curious individuals who is going to say, let's take a look at this. Dr. Oz, I think Dr. Bhattacharya, you look over at, what I'd like to see is there be a rescheduling of Ibogaine. And listen, I'm not going to get into anybody else's field here. I don't want to get distracted of my mission. My mission is about Ibogaine. There's some really interesting things out there with psilocybin. There's really interesting things out there with MDMA. There's other compounds that I hope this administration will say, you know what? Let's go do these clinical trials so that we know, and we'll find out whether or not they are what you say they are. I'm focused on Ibogaine because I am convinced that this compound, particularly with our veterans and particularly with addictions, and Mike, think about how many people you know. Well, I'll speak for myself. How many people I know whose families are tragically impacted by someone who has a substance addiction,
sure.
whatever it may be. And I'm convinced that this compound has the ability to reset the brain. You look at the Stanford study and the work that they did. There's measurable increases in the white matter in the brain of every one of the veterans that the Stanford study. You go to Stanford and Ibogaine and it'll pop up and take a look at it. The The white matter increased. That's the myelin sheath around the
Hmm.
exterior of the brain. That's the super highway. That's what moves your thoughts around in your brain. Every one of those veterans had measurable increases in white matter. There's a regenerative effect to this medicine. And so, I mean, this may be the most profound advancement in medicine in my lifetime.
That's some
And let's look at it.
that's some tall cotton, man. I
That
mean,
is some talk on.
If you like what you heard,
And even if you don't,
won't you please,
pretty please,
subscribe?
well, I hate to beg and I hate to plead, but please, pretty freaking please.